a story of vision, partnership, and long-term commitment. For us, Clark has always represented promise, a gateway for growth, shaped not only for its proximity to Clark International Airport, but also by its growing population, through modern infrastructure and its potential to become a new center of progress. Government opened Clark to greater private sector participation in 2015. Philinvest moved quickly, not just to invest, but to help shape its future. Today, Philinvest is the largest private developer of mixed-use estates within the Clark Special Economic Zone. With our portfolio that spans Philinvest New Clark City, Mimosa Plus Leisure Estate, and our participation in Clark International Airport through the Lipad Consortium. That early belief continues to guide our vision. We recognize that building competitive destinations is a long-term journey. So we start with the right foundation, projects that spark economic activity and attract new enterprise. At Mimosa Plus, we revitalized a leisure destination anchored on the Quest Plus Hotel and Conference Center, the GEO-certified Mimosa Plus Golf Course, Work Plus office spaces, and the soon-to-open Philinvest Mall, strengthening tourism and supporting economic growth. In New Clark City, we work hand-in-hand with the Basis Conversion and Development Authority to lay the groundwork for a vibrant, future-ready community. The Philinvest Innovation Park is already drawing pioneering locators, including an Australian manufacturer of EV batteries, signaling the rise of advanced and sustainable industries. And at Clark International Airport through Lipad, we're helping deliver world-class infrastructure that is attracting global logistics and e-commerce players. These initiatives are creating jobs, opening opportunities for local enterprises, and seeding sustainable communities. More importantly, they set the stage for Clark to flourish as a hub for business, leisure, and innovation. Looking ahead, the next wave of developments in New Clark City and Mimosa Plus will widen that opportunity, welcoming more businesses, generating more employment, and delivering amenities that uplift the quality of life. Our vision is clear: for Clark to take its rightful place as the country's most dynamic growth center. None of this happens without strong public-private collaboration. We are grateful to our government partners, the BCDA, CDC, and SIA, for their good governance, professionalism, transparency, and steady stewardship. Together, we keep communication lines open to ensure that projects are executed efficiently and remain aligned to the bigger picture. The private sector has always supported measures that provide policy predictability, improve ease of doing business, and increase transparency. These are conditions that attract more locators, catalyze investment, and sustain momentum. The potential of Clark is recognized here and abroad for its infrastructure, connectivity, and planning. With continued collaboration, we believe Clark is on its way to become a major engine of growth for the Philippines. Philinvest is committed for the long term. We invite you, our partners in government and business, to build, to invest, to innovate, and to create with us in Clark. Together, we can turn Clark's promise into reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philinvest, and thank you, Mr. Francis Nathaniel Gotianon. And we have another panel. Earlier we listened to our economic managers, and now we have a panel that is specific to investments and infrastructure. To kick off this discussion, please join me in welcoming to the stage, first, today's very popular Department of Public Works and Highways Senior Undersecretary Emil Sadain. Of course, being here in Clark, we are honored to have with us the President and CEO of the Basis Conversion and Development Authority, Mr. Joshua Bingkang. And of course, we have the legendary, our former Solgen, President and CEO of Clark Development Corporation, Attorney Agnes de Vanadera. As we want our discussion to be very vibrant and diverse, we also have with us Assistant Secretary Michael Garcia from the Department of Agriculture. And from the Department of Transportation, we have Director Crinesa Mendoza. And from the DTI, Department of Trade and Industry, we have Regional Director Edna Dizon. But before we begin the panel, may we ask Mr. Francis Gotianon to please rise so that everyone may see your handsome face. And let's all give Philinvest a round of applause. Good morning, everyone, once again. So this one is on investment and infrastructure. As you all know, the Build Better More is the flagship infrastructure program of this administration, and we would really like to use it to see our high growth rate achieving economic transformation towards inclusivity and sustainability. So for the DPWH, don't worry, hindi po ito Senate hearing. May we ask, please provide updates on the progress and challenges of the government's infrastructure program. Siguro po, yung challenges iiwan na natin sa Senate hearing at ang progress po ang i-focus natin today, particularly in terms of project implementation.
Yeah, thank you, Margo, and magandang umaga po sa atin lahat. Well, the government has embarked into a robust infrastructure program we call the Build Better More program of His Excellency President Marcos Jr. And this is actually a big ticket projects that involve around 17 line agencies for a total of 207 flagship projects, which are actually in the pipeline. Some of these were already completed, constructions, and some are actually ongoing, and some are actually for implementations in the coming years. These are actually the flagship projects which aim to accelerate infrastructure development, increase the productive capacity of the economy, generate more jobs, and strengthen the investment climate of the country towards a more resilient and sustainable development. Napakalaking programa po ito ng ating Pangulo. And for DPWS alone, we have around 41 ODA flagship projects that are actually being implemented by this agency. And knowing that Philippine consisted of 7,641 islands, and these are actually one challenge that we really had to connect as much as possible those urban centers and some areas in the countryside from Luzon, Visayas down to Mindanao. We have at the moment around 12 inter-island linking bridge projects. These are actually the biggest projects that are actually connecting inter-island connector, where one after the successful constructions last year of the Pangil Bay Bridge that connect Lanao Norte region, especially Misamis Occidental and Lanao del Norte, it was actually about 3.2 kilometers long cable-stayed bridge, the first long-span bridge we had for Mindanao. And there's also the recently completed detailed design of the Panay Guimaras Negros Island that would connect Iloilo, Guimaras, and the Negros Island. Ito po ay talagang malaking programa. But for Luzon, we have the Bataan Cavite Interlink Bridge Connector This is about 32 kilometers long with a high 30% economic internal rate of return that would connect Metro Manila, Southern Tagalog, all the way to Northern Luzon. We are now actually in the procurement stage of this big ticket project, and by coming year is going to be the implementations of this project. Kaya po to ng ating gobyerno. We can level up in the same way that other countries in the ASEAN can also implement their own big ticket projects. We have also one, we call it the mountain tunnel, that is actually opened up noong August as to the boring of the 2.3 kilometers long in the Davao City bypass roads. That's the first long span tunnel also we had. Pero susundan po yan ng isang mahabang around 5 kilometers long. We call it the Dalton East Alignment na road projects. No? This involves the 22 kilometers expressway with 5 kilometers tunnel that is soon to start detailed design in the coming year. Kasi ngayon nasa procurement tayo dito sa construction na to. And this can actually ease up traffic, especially in the sections where Dalton is actually been choked and it could never be widened because talagang critical yung area, medyo pangpang yun sa kabila. But the only way there is to go for a Dalton East Alignment project. So these are actually big ticket projects. For Southern Tagalog, we have the Lake Lanao circumferential roads. We divided it in two parts. The Western Corridor, that's about 33.9 kilometers. That would start from sa Alabang, Sukat to Alabang, all the way to Tunasan, then down to San Pedro, all the way to Cabuyao, and finally to Calamba. We are actually about to start construction, sa katatapos lang po ng procurement, and the Eastern Corridor that would connect also from Santa Cruz to Halahala, all the way to Rizal in Cardona and to Taytay. That is actually in the pipeline now and is also being deliberated in the DepDep for a funding from the Asian Development Bank. Malaki po ang programa natin na nakalaan po, especially for Luzon area. But one of the greatest, I would say, a more future look on how we can optimize once the Bataan-Cavite Interlink Bridge is completed is to go a connection going up north. That is the continuity from Maribeles, Bataan, yung isang end niya towards Luzon, it can stretch up towards the coastal area of Zambales, Pangasinan, La Union, Ilocos Sur, Ilocos Norte, all the way to Claveria, passing Apari, doon sa Cagayan, then it will go down to Aritao in Nueva Vizcaya. And that would connect the upcoming constructions of the Dalton Bypass that can traverse all the way to Caranglan, San Jose. So you could see how big projects we could have. No? Having the connector on the Western Corridor, we call it the North Luzon Corridor projects, is actually another trunk connector. Kasi ngayon, bugbog talaga yung North Luzon Expressway. That's the only connector you could have from Manila all the way to Luzon. So we need to have another area, another route that can actually connect going up north, and that is the North Luzon Western Corridor road projects. That is now in the pipeline that we are now working through also with the Asian Development Bank. These are actually big ticket projects. It can even go, its implementations beyond these administrations. Kaya nga po, ang flagship projects natin, it doesn't only stop in one area, but it should go beyond generations to generations of administrations para lang po makahabol natin yung kakulangan sa infrastructures. So we have also on the road expressway. As of current date, we only have 523 expressway all over the country. Following the JICA master plan on expressway, we are targeting around 1,963 expressway projects, not only for Luzon, but also Visayas down to Mindanao. May natapos na po tayo dyan, yung arterial bypass at about 22.4 kilometers. Then also the SILEX, the Central Luzon East expressway projects that will be open soon this year. A little portions lang ang natitira doon sa Saragossa, but eventually it will connect from Paniki, Tarlac, all the way to Cabanatuan. Then you also have some other projects in Mindanao and Visayas. So lahat po yan ay talagang magpapanagbo in the coming years for its full utilizations by the public. On the River management projects. The government, especially the PWH, is actually focusing on the master plans for the 18 major river basins for the country. Of these 18, 7 po ang nasa Luzon. Actually, apat na po nagawa dyan. These are the Apayo, Bulog, the Abra River Basins, the Pampanga River Basins, and the Bicol River Basins, where there are 3 more, the Agno River Basins, Cagayan River Basins, and the Pasig Marikina Laguna Lake River Basins that are soon to be completed in the coming year. Pero itong flagship projects natin for flood control, these are actually from the river basin perspective. Meaning, ito yung mga receiving channels, river, stream that really bring down floodwater to downstream para lang at least maibsan siya. For Metro Manila alone, ang effort dyan as to flood control is actually started way back in 2002 because Pasig River all the way to Marikina River from the mouth all the way to San Mateo is actually 52 kilometers. Nakalimang phases na po ang constructions yan and we are now on the last phase to have it completed. But it doesn't stop there. You could see that flooding in Metro Manila is almost everywhere. It is actually, causes of floodings can be in the river overflow. It can also be in the inland flooding. It can be on the coastal influence, the tide elevations and the storm surge, and as well as the overbanking of the river in the lake. Ang isang pinakamabigat dito is the inland flooding. These are actually discovered the 16 cities and 1 municipalities for Metro Manila alone. Water in the receiving channel, especially the Pasig Marikina, can absorb much water kasi malaki na pang improvement yan. Pero ang challenge yan is actually in the drainage, local drainage lateral natin sa mga cities. Because once barado yan, it can actually impede the flow towards the waterways natin na malalaking mga river, esteros. And there's also the challenge on siltations and as well as the floating garbage before it can reach the Pasig Marikina River Channel Improvement projects that can go to Manila Bay. Doon po ang challenge sa inland. While we have in the department big ticket projects, but we are actually urging and working closely with MMD and the local government units in the programs of the clogging, the local drainage, the clearing of the waterways, and as well as yung mga floating garbage from the channel. Doon po nagbabara ang talagang kailangan natin linisin. But in the recipient of the flood water, it can actually be addressed flooding. And there's more to come. The 2 dams that will be constructed in the Sierra Madre and the Parañaque Spillway that will drain up flood water from Laguna de Bay all the way to Manila Bay. Because the design here, once you have the full structural interventions project, we have 2,900 cubic meter per second flood water for 100-year flood design, of which only 500 will be allowed to pass Pasig River, and the other 2,004 will go to Laguna de Bay. And from there, naka-stack yan, nasa retiring basin, the underground spillway projects can actually drive out water from Laguna de Bay all the way to Manila Bay. There's still the strong hope that Metro Manila can be free from flooding. But it will take some time and as well as huge budget of funds. Ito po ang tinitignan natin because we wanted to have a holistic addressing flood situations for Metro Manila. So, nagkaroon po kami ng isang karagdagan with check beans interventions, a more holistic, integrated flood risk management master plan where we engage JICA and World Bank for one holistic project. But this time, it's going to be a combination of structural measures and non-structural measures. Meaning yung structural, gawa na yun sa DP, and non-structurals, ito yung talagang participation ng MMDA, ng local government, even the SUD, the housing for the recollections of the informal settlers along the waterways, and as well as even the land use mapping ng city government has to be cleared also. Plus, yung mga dredging ng floating debris on the river channel. So these are actually big ticket projects that we know we can still address in the coming years. Even for Central Luzon, we have now an upcoming Central Luzon Pampanga River floodway projects that can address also flooding not only for Pampanga but also for Bulacan. Because the current flood water we had that is received by Pampanga River can only sustain around 4 to 5 year return period. But what we need here is a 100-year flood return period that can actually drain out flood water as far as Central Luzon, dito po passing to Rio Chico, and also from Peñaranda River in Tarlac, or even part of the Agno River in Pangasinan, that drain out flood water coming to Chico River all the way to Pampanga River, then down to Manila Bay. May pag-asa po sa Central Luzon, but we really have to work hand-in-hand in this. Huwag po kayong mawala ng pag-asa because we know flooding can always be a good, interventions if we can just make use of it, no? Because we have the IWRM approach, the Integrated Water Resources Management. Well, we get rid of flooding, but we can also use part of this water for irrigation, domestic use, and as well as for irrigation. So lahat po yan ay inaaral po natin. Thank you for everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. It's very reassuring to see the plans of DPWH, and while we work on addressing the issues of corruption, let's not lose let's stay on track with our agenda for prosperity. I remember, sir, do you remember when we started the Philippine economic briefings? SEC RC used to say that we had 156 infrastructure flagship projects, and now we have 207. So, tuloy-tuloy lang po tayo sa ating Build Better More program. To achieve that, however, one issue is the right of way. So, if we could go to DOTR, apparently there has been signed the Accelerated and Reformed Right of Way, or ARROW Act. So, could we ask DOTR Director Nessa Mendoza to elaborate on how this is expected to address long-standing bottlenecks in the implementation of infrastructure projects?
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. So the signing of the Accelerated Reform and Right of Way Act introduces sweeping reforms po to the long-standing bottlenecks in the right of way acquisition that is necessary for the implementation of infrastructure projects. So the ARROW Act po hopes to streamline the process while ensuring a fair compensation for the affected stakeholders. So yung key provisions po niya that are relevant for us, first po is lowering the threshold for the subterranean row. So for the IFPs po, previously po the threshold was at 50 meters, where anything below was free from the need to do expropriation. Now it is 18 meters below na lang po. So this is really important for us po for our future railway underground projects because pwede na po natin silang i-build at a lower cost and without the lengthy expropriation cases. Second po, it introduces a more systematic land valuation where the issue on the land prices po. So the land prices now will follow the Real Property Valuation and Assessment Reform Act or the RP-VARA. That ensures naman po a clearer negotiations and hopes to minimize the disputes. Third one po, it introduces easier payment terms. So instead of paying 100% upfront, the government will only need to provide the 15% land market value at the start of the expropriation. And lastly, PPP private partners are now authorized to do the land acquisition. So they can now undertake a role on behalf of the government. So overall po, the ARROW Act will definitely accelerate the implementation of infrastructure projects and definitely po will boost the investors' confidence to do their business here in the Philippines that will deliver more opportunities and create jobs for the Filipinos.
Hello. Thank you very much, ma'am. And so we really look forward to all of these infra projects, and especially what was mentioned earlier for the Luzon Economic Corridor, the rail. We really look forward to that. And as emphasized earlier by DPWH, connectivity is essential, and it will really benefit investments and agriculture and food security. So on that note, could we ask ASEC Michael Garcia of the Department of Agriculture, what are the Department of Agriculture's key strategies to modernize agriculture and promote climate-resilient farming practices and innovations to secure our nation's food supply? And perhaps also just to relate it to the infrastructure presentation earlier, how will these infrastructure developments benefit food security, especially in the region?
Good noon po, good noon. Maya pa ugto. From the Department of Agriculture, we recognize that climate change is one of the greatest threats to food security. And that is why it has placed modernization and climate resilience at the center of our strategies. The DA continues to promote the use of science-based technologies such as climate-smart seeds, improved livestock breeds, and modern farming equipment that allow farmers to adapt to erratic weather conditions. It is also expanding the use of digital tools such as early warning systems and weather-based advisory services to help farmers make informed decisions on planting and harvesting. Programs on sustainable farming, including the promotion of organic agriculture, soil health management, and water-saving technologies like drip irrigation are being scaled up to ensure long-term productivity while reducing environmental impact. Sa katotohanan po, talaga napabayaan ang Philippine agriculture. No? In fact, even a country like Vietnam spends twice as much on its budget as the Philippines. So kailangan talaga tayo mag-catch up. And a very big factor why Philippine agriculture is not competitive is only 50% of the arable land is provided with irrigation. So yan po ang isa sa mga programa na tinitingnan ni Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel, no, and the Department of Agriculture.
Okay, thank you so much po. And yes, we hope to be able to really make our agriculture the source of our food security. So let's move on to DTI. How is DTI supporting exporters in Central Luzon, particularly in improving access to global markets and reducing trade barriers? Let's link this to the presentation earlier of OSA-PIA and the efforts of the national government in supporting our, especially our MSMEs. I know that's a great advocacy of Sec Roque.
Thank you very much, Yusek Margot. It is a pleasure to be here and share with you what DTI Region 3 is doing in so far as export assistance and SMEs. For DTI, we wanted to sustain the performance of Central Luzon as the top performing, one of the top performing regions in the Philippines. Having said that, so DTI is challenged really to work on the exporters, the SMEs, and of course the governance. For DTI, we have the strategy to really support the fueling of global growth through driving inclusive prosperity. We are DTI, we are the export enabler in Region 3. So we empower exporters in Central Luzon by serving as a bridge, serving as a mentor, serving as a guide and champion. For exporters, we have the Philippine Exporters Foundation in Region 3, which is a partner of DTI. This is an organization composed of exporters and very active in supporting DTI in its move to really grow SMEs. In fact, our initiatives for exporters, we do the ease of doing business. As far as issues affecting their operations, we make it a point to elevate them to a higher level, like we do the Regional Development Council, part of the Sector Economic Development Committee. We managed to really visit these exporters. I think President Agnes is aware that we are working with CDC. And as part of our advocacy to elevate issues affecting the operations, we really are moving towards strengthening our presence in the global arena. In fact, we managed to link also businesses to the exporters. The challenge is what we receive is the competitiveness in terms of meeting the raw materials they need. In fact, we are not only supporting exporters, but we also building would-be exporters. We have already engaged the PhilExport to work with us in Region 3 to guide and champion our would-be exporters. Our would-be exporters are suffering from a lot of challenges. In fact, Region 3 is host to a lot of food SMEs. And this is the advocacy we're doing now to partner with Department of Agriculture because a lot of them are now importing materials. So we manage now to work out the local domestic requirement for them to really be competitive. And another thing is we're working on a mechanism where we establish institutional bodies, like for example, the ease of doing business. We are now working with the Central Luzon processing, yung sa exporter, yung ano naman, licensing, which we call club. And then we have also the LAPOS, which are the investment promotion officers of the local government. The club is also a composition of the local government frontliners. And we are the only region, we have the Central Luzon Growth Corridor Foundation, which is composed of the 7 governors in Region 3. So with these institutional bodies, DTIs really have ease of facilitating issues and concerns. So kumbaga, there is a mechanism now from the grassroots to the level of the chambers, to the level of the business exporters. We manage it to elevate to the top through these institutional bodies. And of course, we do also skills and resources alignment and matching. We all know that kanina we noted the mismatch. So we're now working with academic institutions to really find alignment in their courses. In fact, in Region 3, we're now piloting academic institutions for the AI because we're now building the AI generative skills here in Region 3. And with TESDA, we would like to inform everyone that we are strong in partnership collaboration with TESDA to really work on their tech voc to match the requirements of our exporters and would-be exporters. And of course, the 99.6% na SMEs. So we do regular specific activities like the Usapang Exports being handled by the Export Marketing Bureau, where we gathered here in the region all exporters and SMEs and inform them of the current trends, the current policies, and gathering issues as well on how we can possibly help them. We also have a regional roadshow on Philippine free trade agreements. This is a challenge for us now because we were given instruction by our dear Secretary, Maria Cristina Roque, to really encourage more exporters to avail of the FTAs. We observe that there are minimal availments of these FTAs. Maybe there are lapses in knowing what are these FTAs and how can they benefit in terms of availing. Of course, we also engage PhilExport now to really do mentorship and guidance to would-be exporters. In fact, this would be launched at the Likhana Central Luzon in Mega Mall in October 15. We would like to strengthen further collaboration and partnerships amongst chambers, among stakeholders, the local government in Region 3. So we're glad enough to inform you that we're successful enough here in Region 3, and that's why maybe it manifested in terms of the performance we are getting national level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That's very encouraging to see how much national government support there is for our exporters. So to the CSOs here, maybe you can collaborate on your roadshows also later on so that our businessmen can see how they can take advantage of all of this support coming from the national government. And so now let's go to our home court. Let's go to the Basis Conversion and Development Authority. Let's listen to all the wonderful things that are happening with BCDA. And we have with us, no less than the President and CEO, Joshua Bingkang. And sir, may we ask, how is BCDA leveraging its major projects here in Clark and New Clark City to both contribute to and benefit from the Luzon Economic Corridor and position Central Luzon as a globally competitive investment hub and a catalyst for inclusive growth?
Thank you, Ma'am Margo. So magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat and we're excited that we are having this event in Clark. Alam niyo na overwhelm ako kanina kay Yusek Emil sa dami ng projects nila sa DPWH. But one thing we can be assured of now is that having Secretary Vince Dizon at the helm, no, DPWH is the best hands. No? Kasi I can proudly say that because he used to be our boss in BCDA for 6 years, and we see how he works. And also to DOTR, we are grateful for the projects they're bringing in Clark. No? Si Ma'am Director Nessa here used to be the head of our core plan. No? So you can be assured of na matutuloy yung mga projects din sa DOTR. Along with my other key officials, they moved to DOTR. Pumayag naman ako kasi importante magawa yung mga projects ng DOTR, lalo-lalo na dito sa Clark. Of course, no, we're happy that we are playing a crucial role in the Luzon Economic Corridor, as mentioned earlier by Yusek Angel Ignacio, one of which is the Subic-Clark-Manila-Batangas Railway. No, while it is at the feasibility stage, kami ho sa BCDA ay nagtatrabaho na. We are already acquiring a big portion of the alignment for this project, especially the Subic-Clark segment. So kaya kapag nagsimula na itong project na ito, from day one, meron na tayong maibibigay na area where the contractor can work on. And then dito sa loob ng Clark, we are also expanding the Clark International Airport. Sigurado matutuwa ang aming partner from Lipad, no? Si Senior Vice President Francis Gotianon. Because thanks to them, they were able to sign, at least for now, 2 big logistic carriers. No? We can already announce. FedEx is coming back big time. They're going to build a terminal as big as our airport terminal, ganun kalaki. And also UPS. And then there's another third one, no? European company. From the part of the government, we are investing on the infrastructure. We are going to build an apron where these logistic carriers can park their cargo planes, no? At least 18 kasha. So in the next 2 years, we are going to complete that facility because it's a commitment, especially for FedEx when they will start their operation to make Clark their Southeast Asian hub by 2027. Not just that, we are also going to build the second runway, no, here in Clark International Airport. Kahit wala pa yung volume, but we see that happening anyway. So given there's no problem on the right-of-way, ang kagandahan ho sa Clark, no, kami ni Press Agnes, is that it's always shovel-ready. No, walang problema sa right-of-way. So we're going to construct that second runway to further elevate Clark as a main gateway in the country. And also on food security na bilanggit ni RD Esguerra kanina, we are already providing we have already identified a space inside Clark for the food hub. And on the part of BCDA, kami po ay mag-i-invest na on the infrastructure. Roads, utilities, such that when DA or its private sector partner is ready, they can just build their warehouses or their cold storage facilities. And we are also, sayang wala na ho si Mayor Aquino, but on the part of the ECTEX, no, expressway, we are going to complete all the interchanges, no, the Subic-Clark-Tarlac Expressway, which is a key vital infrastructure in Central Luzon. We are going to complete those 3 interchanges. One in Hermosa, Bataan. So marami po mga industrial parks dyan. So, lab ho namin ang Clark, pero gusto rin namin na mag-diversify or ma-expand din ang mga portfolio of investment areas dito sa Central Luzon. We are going to build and complete the Lucita interchange as well. Alam niyo ho, andun na ho ang Aboitiz, Ayala. So with this additional infrastructure, it will speed up the development in their area. And also in Mabalacat, Dolores interchange, na as promised with Mayor Aquino, na yung area din na Mabalacat ay mabuksan and to speed up development there as well. And we are also, if I may, we are going to expand also our assets, not just in Central Luzon. No? Meron ho kami sa Baguio, yung Camp John Hay, andun din ho ang Philinvest. They are all going to open soon their newest hotel there, no? The Graphic Hotel. Okay, in-announce ko na, Mr. Gotianon. But we are going to invest heavily on utilities in Camp John Hay now that it's back in the government after several years. And then in Poro Point, we're working with the PPP Center to complete a feasibility study to expand and improve the seaport. No, we're going to offer at least 80 hectares of development for industrial development in Poro Point, as well as modernize the airport to make it commercial ready. So with all this infrastructure, what does it mean for our projects and development here in Clark Preport Zone and in New Clark City? Of course, it will pave way now for private sector to come in because the infrastructure are present. Kaya nga ho, I was listening also with RDS Guerra kanina, yung mga concerns about Central Luzon, the cost on internet, the cost on utilities, as well as on education. So on the part of the electricity cost, no, we're proud to say that in the last trip of the President in India, we were able to sign a waste-to-energy facility to be put up in New Clark City. It's around 12 megawatts, pero expandable ito to bigger size. So ano mangyayari ito? It will bring down the cost of electricity. No? And in fact, I got a call 2 days ago from Secretary Lotilla himself saying he will support this project by facilitating the early approval of the regulatory permits. Kasi ang gusto niya, pag naging successful, itong project na to ay i-replicate nila sa iba't ibang bahagi ng Pilipinas na ikinatuwa ng ating Presidente. And not just that, we are also processing several renewable energy proposals, a microgrid, and even other solar projects. Kasi ang gusto talaga natin, mapababa ang cost of electricity. Now, in terms of, because there are more than 140,000 jobs na, kay Pres Agnes pa lang, and then in New Clark City is growing, we want to make sure there are residential requirements that will be provided. Ang gusto kasi natin is even minimum wage earners can afford to live inside Clark. Napakaganda ng Clark. Ang gusto lang, kulang na lang ay residential. And all of you here can be qualified to be residents of Clark. No? In fact, we already broken ground for the first 3,000 residential units in New Clark City. And we are targeting to build at least 10,000 pa. No? So you can live, work, play talaga dito sa loob ng Clark. And we are also improving on the internet. No? We had an agreement with Secretary Abuda na immobilize na yung last mile connectivity sa loob ng Clark. And we are at the tail end of procurement with ADB for the ICT infrastructure highway para mapabilis ang internet connectivity at par with the fastest in the region. So those are some of the projects that we have. No? Even sports, no? We have a shining star in tennis, no? Si Alex Ayala, and we're building the national headquarters for the Philippine Tennis Association in Clark, as well as the Philippine Sports Commission. So we want to support the sports development for our youths to develop world-class athletes in the future. And of course, some industrial parks, tuloy-tuloy ho yan. And we see all this development to elevate further Clark at the forefront of investment destination for the country. So, maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, sir. On daming happening sa BCDA, and I saw that last slide that was flashed. BSP is also going to have its new complex. And so now we will, of course, save the best for last. we have Clark Development Corporation's President and CEO, Agnes Devanadera. Ma'am, how does CDC's role as both developer and regulator within the Clark Freeport Zone support its mandate to drive regional economic growth and attract investments?
Thank you very much, Margot. But first, you know, Margot and I have been friends for so long. Kaya pinopromote niya ako. Anyway, I think Clark Development Corporation is very, very lucky because the infrastructure, both from the national government, funded by the national government, funded by BCDA, and of course, the United States of America, have been put in place, and this makes Clark different from the other ecozones because of the infrastructure. And that's how important infrastructure is. And I am very happy, really, to be hearing the plans of DPWH. You know, now we can say DPWH, with DPWH, we can dream again with all those plans. Di naman lahat negative especially with Secretary Vince. Now, putting in context, Clark Development Corporation was created under a law, and it has been endowed with police power and regulatory power. So it's different from the others because it acts like an LGU. In law, we call it sui generis. It's a class of its own. We don't have barangays, but it is considered possessing the functions of an LGU. We issue the building permit, the occupancy permit. We do the fire inspection. And the difference is we don't allow our bureaucrats to sell fire extinguishers. Bawal. But we do the fire inspection. So that's the difference, right? Now, so how do we move both as a regulator and as a developer? We have adopted that as regulator, we should be enabler. So the first thing that we did when we came in as the new management is to review the different policies so that it's not just rules. Anong objective? Will our investors and our locators be able to earn more? And will their businesses flourish more with the kind of rules that we have? So it's a regulator to put order, but enabler to make them attain their very objective, which is to increase the revenue. So that's the internal rule. Now, outside, because our investors will have to deal with the national government rules, we also did a review, especially for customs, especially for other regulatory bodies. And for that, we were quite successful because there are a lot of gaps and a lot of regulations which are not applicable here, and we should really change this. And through our legal team, a special team that took charge of review of regulations, we were able to get special regulatory concessions from no less than the Bureau of Customs, so that there are, in fact, regulations that they call applicable only to Clark. So, translated into ease in doing business, we were able to help our locators increase their businesses because they're able to move faster, they're able to move their goods faster. Now, the other aspect is it's so difficult to be promoting and getting investors. But we have to. So we decided to look at existing investors, and we have concentrated on our existing investors plus a bit of new investors. And the old investors, because we know them, they know us, we have gone into expansion. And I think this is something that is a good start for us because in 2024, with that kind of strategy, then we were able to get a 77 billion total, 77 billion commitments in new investments. So the strategy was working, and we realized that there are two very important things for the investors: ease in doing business and cost in doing business. And for the ease in doing business, of course, we have the one-stop shop and all those automation of most of the processes. For the cost in doing business, we identified 4 areas of heightened readiness: power, water, connectivity, and of course, transportation. For power, it's difficult to compete with the other countries. We're not just competing with areas in the Philippines, it's with the other countries. But we're happy to say that in the Clark Freeport Zone, we, under the Clark Electric Distribution Utility, that's the distribution utility we have, our rate is only 7 pesos. And we need to put that down lower. And so we studied the existing roof, and we have an equivalent of stars. But instead of having all of it, we studied which ones are ready for solar rooftop panels. And we found out we have about 246 hectares of existing rooftops. And we encouraged our locators to put the solar rooftops, and now they're experiencing, those who have adopted the program, they're experiencing a reduction of 20 to 30% in cost of electricity. So our programs may be very different because Clark Freeport Zone is a brownfield. So we have to deal with the challenges of ongoing businesses, existing businesses, and we have to make sure that they don't leave. Kasi mahirap maghanap. Tapos na yung nandito na, kailangan pang umalis. So we're happy to note that people have not left and people have expanded, and businesses have really gone up. We were able, in fact, to generate a revenue of 6 billion. So what else did we do? It is to complete the ecosystem for a particular industry and for the particular community. We developed Clark as a community, not just an investment destination. And in the process, we were able to attract more tourists, making Clark as the top tourist destination for Region 3. So it's thank you, President Bingkang, because he mentioned the live, work, and play. And these are the things that we are putting in place. So you will find, sabi nila, uy, ang ganda na ng Clark. Translated into real things. Ano yung maganda? Maganda because there are many restaurants to go to, and in particular areas, there are now 2 restaurants offering the same menu. Maganda because we have kept the cleanliness. Maganda because we have protected the century-old trees. Maganda because you feel good. Maganda because our investors continue to earn. And we continue to explore how we can still remove the bureaucratic red tape. And as we said, in doing so, we are removing the red tape, and instead, we are offering our investors the red carpet. And si Margo naman. So, parang simple lang, pero ang hirap. Mas madaling makapagpagawa ng tulay kesa to put in place the soft infra. But, we have to develop this as a community because it is only in having a real good community that we can retain our investors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President and CEO Agnes de Vanadera. So let's give a warm round of applause to our panelists. From the DTI, RD Edna Dizon. From the Department of Agriculture, ASEC Michael Garcia. From the DOTR, Director Nessa Mendoza. From DPWH, USEC Emil Sadain. And of course, from BCDA, President and CEO Joshua Bingkang. And from Clark Development Corporation, President and CEO Agnes de Vanadera. But before we have our group photo, we would like to open the floor to questions. I think we have time for around 1 or 2 questions from the audience. We'd like to make this as much as an interactive dialogue as much as possible, and we'd really like to hear your insights. So could we open the floor to questions? Does anyone have any comments? Yes, sir.
Hi, good morning. My question has to do with CDC. I represent po the micro, small, medium entrepreneur. No? So as an entrepreneur po in this sector, how do you support us? Kasi alam ko yung mga locator po dyan sa CDC, they are more of industrial companies. But for businesses like us, how are you going to support us po? Thank you po, ma'am.
Tamang-tama yan tanong mo kasi ang hirap naming masagot din yan. And we decided to consult Governor Nanay Pineda on how we can really reach out. The first project that we have for the MSMEs is to support field export and provide them a place where they can display their products. So that's the Deco Central. From a very small, I think 500 or 300 square meter area for their products, we provided them with a 2,000 square meter display area, but it's exhibit and sale. And we realized that in marketing their products, going to Manila, participating in FAME, participating in all those trade fairs, when the buyers finally come to Pampanga, they get lost because they will be looking for areas. Second is this is another group. We discovered that we have a lot of artists and artisans. Because this is now also being supported by DTI. And so we decided, again, to open the facility of Clark by making each group of artists display their products for free. And it is Clark also that, in fact, we foot the bill for the opening, including the food, and we make sure that their market in Clark will be bigger. So we also request, and I'm happy to note that our hotels have decided also to carry their exhibits. So those are two very, very concrete. However, with the organization of the MCAC, or Metro Clark Advisory Council, composed of the five LGUs around Clark. Now we are working very closely with the mayors. And in fact, in our last meeting, we had a meeting with TESDA because we are now looking at different facilities of trainings, and it will not only be supportive of the manpower development, but it will also be supportive of the product development. So these are just small steps that came up, but we are very open to more suggestions so that your market will be expanded here inside, and your market will be expanded also abroad through our locators and investors. So it doesn't mean that just because you're small, you have no place here in the Clark Freeport zone.